Hi everybody, this is Marissa from the Duxbury Free Library with this week's Crafternoon. This is a take and make Crafternoon, and this week we are making paper beads. So I'm gonna hold this up so you can see, and I have a few photos that started this video. This is a great way to recycle magazines or other paper you have around your house. And if you registered for this Take and Make Crafternoon, you got a bag with the supplies you'll need for this project, and it is in our lower level vestibule with all the book holds. So if you haven't picked it up yet and you're watching this video, you can go there, pick it up, and then come back and watch the video. If you didn't register for this program, that's okay. These are still materials that are easy to get your hands on, so you can still make it even if you didn't get a bag of supplies. So I made some samples of these, and I have a couple tips, and I'm going to show you how to make them today. First of all, I'm going to go over the instruction sheet that was in your bag. So what you got in your bag is a green triangle. This is a template, so you can use this to trace onto paper and make more beads. You could use wrapping paper. I don't know how newspaper would work, but magazines are great for this. You got 10 triangles that were pre-cut. So what I tried to do with the triangles I put in your kit is I tried to keep them all similar in color or from the same page of a magazine so they would match. Like mine are all kind of orangey red. You don't have to make your beads match, and if you don't like the color you got, flip the paper over and you can use the other side. But I decided to give you matching colors, and then the template if you want to make more or make some practice ones. So this one is not a bead, this is just to trace. You got a wooden dowel. Mine's a little gross because I've already used it. It's got some glue on it. And this is what you're going to use to wrap your paper around to create your bead. If this is a little small, you can use a plastic drinking straw too. It will be a little bit bigger and maybe a little bit easier for you to roll your bead. I put in your bag 5 of these red coffee stirrers. These are not to roll your beads on. These are to put your beads on to let them dry. You got a foam brush, and I think mine is in my pocket. Yep. And you got a little square. This is actually green floral foam if you were making a floral arrangement, but you got a little piece, and this is to stick your coffee stirrer in. I've actually been laying mine like this to slide the beads onto to let them dry. So you can put all 5 in there. You have 10 triangles, so you can put 2 per coffee stirrer and let them dry. And then if you want to go back and put more glue on them to harden them up a little bit, make them shiny, you can do that and let them dry in this. So the tools to roll your beads are your dowel, and then you'll need your foam brush. You will need to provide your own white glue, like Elmer's glue or Mod Podge. I'm using Mod Podge. It's a little bit thinner than white glue, so you can always use white glue and add a little water to it to give it a thinner consistency so it's easier to spread with your brush. Actually, I highly recommend that. So just add a little water till it thins out a little bit, or use Mod Podge if you have it. So that's what's in your bag. And we're going to get started. So like I said, if you don't like the triangles you got in your bag, you can use the template. And for those of you who don't have a bag, I'll tell you how I made this template. So I measured, this is a piece of cardstock, so it's nice and easy to trace. I measured on the bottom, let me move this up a little bit so you can see it a little better. This is 1.5 inches along the bottom. So that's the base of your bead. That's where you're going to start rolling And then I measured the midpoint of that. So that is 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75 inches. And then I drew a straight line up. This is my second template. My first one does have the line on it, but it's my second one because my first one got a little worn out after cutting all of the triangles for the bag. So 1.5 inches, measure the midpoint, which is about there. So it's 3/4 of an inch on one side of the line and 3/4 of an inch on the other side of this invisible line. And then I measured up 10 inches and marked that point. So you can imagine this on a piece of paper. And then I took a ruler and I drew a line that went up to the midpoint on one side and a line that went up to the midpoint on the other side. And that gives me this long skinny triangle, and then I cut it out with scissors. So you can use a different shape. You can just roll tubes of paper, but you won't get the cool effect of like the colors coming through. I don't think that would come through as much. And this is the tutorial that I read on how to make this. So you just need a long skinny triangle, and if your measurements are more exact, the more even your beads will be. But you could just eyeball it. So I have left over from cutting the triangles some of these, I think these are Paw Patrol. So you can see how they're all like similar colors. I tried to keep them like that for you guys. And for myself, I already showed you the red ones I made. And then I have this other stack here, and these are all sort of these ocean colors, some browns, and some blues. So the first step is that you want to decide which side of your triangles you're going to use. Mixed up colors look great. It's whatever you want. So I am going to use, I'm going to move my red ones out of the way. I'm going to use these tonight to show you how to make your beads. 2 more tips before I show you how this works. It's really handy. 3 tips. 3 tips. It's really handy to have a moist bit of paper towel because your hands are going to get glue on them, and it makes it harder to continue to roll them. Your hands get sticky. Also, you want to cover your work surface. So I have on my work surface a piece of parchment paper, but if you have wax paper, I think that's even better. So your beads don't stick to your table, or if you're working on a piece of cardboard or whatever, you want to have a nice surface to roll your beads on that they're not going to stick on. Wax paper does work better than parchment paper, but parchment paper is great. And you want to pour out a little bit of your glue. Now I'm going to break my own rule and just dip my brush into this glue, but I recommend that you pour out a little bit, especially if you're going to mix white glue with water. And then you can, you're not going to need a ton of glue. You'll be surprised at how little you actually need. So I recommend that, but do as I say, not as I do, because I'm not pouring out any of my Mod Podge tonight. So now that we've gone through your instructions and the supplies, which you're going to see once I move my camera down, we're going to get started. So the first thing I want to do is decide which side of my triangles I want my beads to be. So this one has some off-white color and some blue, and I really like that. And I cut these specifically because they are all from a similar page or a similar article in a magazine. So I want to keep that group of colors going. So this is the side I want to be my bead. So I know that I need to place the side that I want facing out. So the side that's going to be the outside of my bead face down. And I want the wide part of the triangle facing me, or in your case, facing you, and the pointy end on the other side. So we're gonna roll from here to the end, to the pointy end. So you wanna start rolling your dowel inside your paper. Just sort of fold the end over, and you want it tight, but you don't want it too tight because it will get stuck on your dowel, which I had happen a couple of times, but if that happens, it's no big deal. You can cut more triangles with the template you have or you made, and you have 10 to use, so you got plenty to work with. So I've just curled the end of the wide part of my triangle under my dowel and just rolled it a couple times. It's like if you're rolling out dough, you want to push it away from you. So if you were making sugar cookies or something like that. So now I've got I can see that I've got a couple wraps around my dowel, and now I want to take my foam brush. I've opened up my glue in this case. And I just want a little bit of glue. So not even that much. And I just want to brush some on. And then keep rolling it up to where my glue ends. And then I still have glue on my brush. So I just want to dab a little bit more on and roll it. And you'll see that it'll start to layer because the triangle is getting narrower. Oh, I hear my dog in the background. She wants to come make crafts with me. And I'm just gonna brush a little bit more glue on. This one's a little off center, but that's all right. Dab a little glue, roll it up, and keep rolling till the end. Now mine sort of got off center, which is all right. I'm just gonna tuck the pointy end downwards towards the center. So there's that. And now I'm gonna slide my dowel out, and I'm gonna slide this bead onto my coffee stirrer to dry. And I'll show you how to do another one. All right, so let's do another one. You can see this one is drying on my little coffee stirrer there. And this one ended up sort of cone shaped, which is fine. The goal is to get them to wind up evenly. I think only about half of mine came out that way, but this is neat too because you have like sort of this longer tube shaped bead. So let's try this one in front of me. So this is the side that I want to show. It's this blue and creamy color like the other one. It's probably from this, I think it's actually from the same magazine page. So I want to flip it over and have the wide end of the triangle facing me. Now I'm going to take my dowel. If you don't have a dowel, you can use a chopstick, would work, or a drinking straw. Like I said, it will just make the hole of your bead a little bit bigger, but it might be easier to roll. You could even use a pencil if you needed to, or if that felt more comfortable to you. So I'm going to take the end and wrap it over and just do a couple of wraps around the dowel. Not too tight. And before you put your glue on, you can see if it's even. So I've got a couple wraps on my dowel, and now I've got my brush. And just need a little bit of glue. And just glue a little bit on the wrong side of your bead and roll it. And roll a little more. This one's also going to come out more long. And just keep dabbing a little glue and rolling it away from you towards the pointy end of your triangle. When you get to the end, like so, I like to sort of fold this down towards the center of the bead and sort of wrap a little bit in the other direction, just so the point has something to stick to. Like, there's my point, and I just wrapped it sort of going in the other direction, just a little bit. And it might be a little gappy, but that's all right, so I'm gonna slide this one off. These are actually working much better for me. When I made my first ones, I was definitely making them too tight. So now I've got two drying on my coffee stir. So what I'm gonna do, I'll roll one more bead up, but I wanna show you the finishing of this. So you can see these just are plain magazine paper. The ones I made, I don't know if you can tell which way is my, there we go. Take my brush out of my hand. Focus. You can see that they're a little bit shiny. So what I used, it was my Mod Podge or my glue. And since this one is still drying, I'm gonna take, this is why you have 5 coffee stirs. So you can do 2 beads on each. I just snagged one for my demonstration purpose here. We're gonna leave that one over there. So what you can do to make it shiny is just coat it in glue or Mod Podge, and it will dry shiny. And if you're just rolling these and you don't like the way they're coming out, once they're completely dry, you could paint over them with acrylic paint and then seal them again if you wanted them to be shiny. And putting this coat on them just helps them hold together a little bit better, and it just sort of makes them look a little bit polished. So I'm gonna put this one back on my coffee stirrer to dry, and put that other one that I just did back on. So like that. So this is the one I just put the glue on, this one right here on the outside. And then this one is the one I just finished. And I'm gonna do, maybe I'll do 2 more. So then you really get a feel for how they work up. So my hands are a little sticky now. Definitely wanna wipe that glue off so my hands don't stick to my paper, which can happen. And I have a little glue on my parchment, and I can just wipe it up a little bit. If your dowel gets a little sticky too, you might want to wipe off that extra glue. So I'm going to start by rolling the end over and doing about 2 wraps around my dowel. I'm trying to center it, but I think that mine are just going to be cones, which is okay. They still come out looking pretty neat. It's just really fun to make something out of something that you would normally recycle or throw away. So I've done my 1 or 2 wraps loosely, tightly, so that you don't want them like glued onto your dowel, but you do want them on top of each other. And I put my glue down. My glue is white, so it's hard to see in this light and on my parchment paper, but it's just like dabbing a little, like dabbing a little paint on. and then roll. This one's gonna be a little bit more centered. That'll be cool. Dab your glue and then roll it away from you. So I've just got that little pointy end to do. I'm going to do that last roll and smooth that end down. That one came out a little bit more even as opposed to all rolling to one side. That's what I want them all to look like. They don't all look like that, not even the ones I made before. So it's a little bit of an experiment sometimes. So I'm gonna set that one over with the others, and I'm gonna do one more, and then we'll seal the ones we made, and that'll be your Crafternoon. All right, so we're gonna do this fourth one. And I will say that getting it started, doing the first couple wraps around your stick is the trickiest bit. But once you get going, it is not too bad. Okay. So I've done my first 2 wraps, spread a little glue, and just roll. And when you roll, you don't need to press really, really hard. Just roll it gently. And like I said, you don't need very much glue on your brush at all. You don't want it to get too soppy, because then it will take longer to dry. So here we are towards the end, so we're just gonna wrap that pointy bit down and towards the center. Like so. And when these are all dry, I showed you a photo of the ones I had made before at the beginning of this video. Once these are all dry, I'll take another photo and put it at the end of the video. So I've got 4 done. They rolled right out of my hands. And then I have this one that I sealed that's still drying on the stick. So that's why I gave you more than one little coffee stirrer, so you can put your beads on it to dry. And once they're dry, you can just take them off and do whatever you want with them. You can string them on a string to wear as a necklace, make a little bracelet. Like I said, if they get wet, they will eventually fall apart because they are made of paper. But that's paper beads. I hope you have a lot of fun. And if you try out different papers, you can tell me how they worked for you. If you have an idea for a Take and Make Crafternoon, you can leave a message in the comments of this video, and I'll see what I can do. And our next Take and Make is the first Thursday in August, and we're going to be doing a yarn wall hanging, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So as you can see, my beads vary based on how centered my triangle is. This one's a little bit longer, so is this one. And then these two came out more like a barrel shape. But they all look really neat, and I hope you have fun doing this. And if you have any questions also, you can leave them in the comments. So thank you for joining me. Hope you have fun. Love to hear your feedback, and we'll see you next time.